safe. You know how worried I've been? I'm fine somehow. What about you?
It's Sis.
Sanae, we're going home, okay? You're coming with me.
Don't go closer, Sis.
What?
It's too late. All 665 sacrifices are inside of me.
What are you saying?
I'm a vessel. Marbas is always watching. He's behind me.
All we need is one more pure soul, and our king will manifest himself! Sanae possesses a genetic predisposition, one that allows our king to inhabit her body. Do you know how long it took me to find her? She is a descendant of our lord. You missed the enlightening ritual during which we tortured her to the brink of death. Your death shall resurrect our king, and your sister's body is his vessel. Makes for a beautiful sisterly bond, no? Elstrain Marbas! Elstrain Marbas! Reveal yourself to us!
Hang in there!
Oh, rotten! You haven't aged a day in 30 years, have you? My curse causes humans to lose their minds as they revert to a monstrous form. Yet it did not work on you, strange child.
That was your fault, too?
Correct. That was my curse, yes. Marbas prefers corrupted souls. Luckily, I've learned that girls corrupt further when subjected to misery before death.
It's all your fault! You took my mother from me! I wish you never, ever came to this town! That way, Mother would never have gone crazy!
You cannot begin to comprehend the depths of my suffering, puny brat. My baby sister Lydia is gone. This world, that world, I will purge all of it into ruin!
Who are you talking about?
Oh, here he comes! Now, Lord Marbas will manifest!
Oruskura, Elstrina Barbos. Eritor Keni, Barida!
What? We cannot allow!
Challenge me if you dare! Seize them!
And welcome back to part 35 of Death End Request 2, where today we're fighting for our lives. We finally reach Giulietta, and she has stabbed Mai, and she is bleeding out on the floor, with death imminent. So as Rotti and Liliana, we have to fight for survival now. Winning or losing this fight will affect your ending. The game will continue if you lose this fight, and you will go on to the final boss. Regardless, just the ending that follows will be far more miserable. It will be the bad ending, and I will show that at a later time. But you do want to win this fight, even if these enemies are really annoying. And you might take a death you didn't plan to accidentally, just because if they decide to gang up on one person, well, you just saw there, Rotti just got double teamed. So my priority is getting her back up. And then I use Philisite. Or Physolite. Oh no, I don't. I just push for the kill. Well, you should probably use Physolite, just because of the half damage to make sure that doesn't happen again. But no, I just push for the kill with Liliana's ultimate. Which, to be fair, I don't mind using Liliana more, because you don't use her that much in the grand scheme of the game. There's a lot of sections in the game where she's just not in the party and you have to deal with it. Like, she doesn't join until halfway through chapter 3, but then she's out all of most of chapter 5 because it's dealing with her mother, and she joins late on. And then in chapter 8 she's gone for the entirety of it up until the boss at the end. But this fight isn't too bad. It's the warm up to the main event, and you kind of have to deliberately lose this fight if you want to see that bad ending. And you get a monstrous ton of experience for doing so, so you should hopefully be strong enough to take on the final boss afterwards.
デリトル系にバリーダー
Now, won't you give me your last bit of life? The 666th death! Welcome! Show me your neck! Come on!
Sanae! No! Sis. 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 Please live. This can't be happening.
She's dead! Dead! The 666th death! Here he comes! No! No! Over here! Marbas! Oh! Marbas! Come to me! Ignore this brat! Possess me!
Now playing a video message.
If this video starts, then it's most likely because things went south and you're in trouble, Mai. But don't fear. Failure's not the end. The true test is rising when you fall. That's what makes you a programmer. Behind you and in front of you is a path that Sanae, Sheena, and so many others have connected for you. If you're as confident as you seem, then I know you see it. Dying is fine, living is fine, but move your body. Mai Toyama, you can cheat death. Believe in yourself.
Roddy! We have no choice but to surrender ourselves to God's mercy. But is there nothing we can do? I won't let her win! My, how are you standing? Your chest! You're losing so much blood! Don't! You need to lay down!
World's key. She cannot be forgiven. Roddy, Liliana, help me.
Okay!
Okay, whilst I re-equip Mai, because she left the party so she's been unequipped, I want to explain what's going on there. And I might explain it again when I get to the credits at the end of this. From the first game, one of the things we learnt is that the God of Death is a real thing in this. And the God of Death used some form of power to grant Arta access to the world's key, which allowed him to reset time. And through the Salve pen, he remembered it. So it allowed him to try and rework the construct of time and allow him to try and stop the merging of the world in the first game. Arata handed down that power through the World's Key program to Mai. The time limit that was on the laptop that was revealed early on was leading to this. The time limit's hit 0 and is given the power of death to Mai, which is why she's able to function despite a fatal injury going through her stomach, and why her eyes have gone all greyed out. She is literally a dead woman walking right now. She's not zombified per se, but she just has this godlike power inside of her that is keeping her going. Which, as I'll explain later on, leads to a big problem. But right now, it doesn't. For gameplay wise, it means nothing. This is just the next fight, and this is the final boss of the game that has this really rockin' final boss theme, far better than the final boss of the first game. And I get why it's supposed to be more aggressive, because it's a far more aggressive situation. The first game's final boss was more emotional. Your first priority should be dealing with the lackeys though, because they will just gang up on you and wipe the floor of parts of your team if given the chance to. They don't have much health though, so make that your point of how you deal with them. Your priority should always be having Liliana keep a double defense up, or the half damage even, and then healing who needs to. Try and keep everyone in their glitch forms for as long as possible. Don't just burn it through for the sake of it. There is unique dialogue for using your glitch form, and you will get to hear all of them before the end of this, but it doesn't mean waste this away. Doesn't mean waste them. Keep a hold of your glitch forms at all costs. This fight is going to take a while. Marbas has an insane amount of health, and so this fight will take a while even when you know what you're doing and you get this thing cornered. And I find it interesting that the ultimate demon that this entire game has been about trying to get to, because yeah, Barbas is Marbas, it was just a slip of the tongue, because Marbas, the name, has correlations to demonic literature, so I guess making it so they mishear it in the first half of the game stops it from becoming as obvious as it already kind of is that it's demonic. Oh, this music is so fucking good though.
I'll kill you! I'll kill you! Ha-ha! You got a death wish? Shatter! Die! You're in the way!
I'm going. There. I'll support you.
Like I said, it's extremely aggressive. My only complaint is that I wish this track was longer, but it's the exact same criticism I had with Return to Me, the first game's final boss theme, where that was a great track, but it's over in like a minute and a half. But yes, you see, Julieta, or Marbas, has a bafflingly high amount of health. In terms of the base game, this is ignoring pain area, she has the most health of anything in this, making it a very chunky final boss, and a lot chunkier than the first game. If you remember, in the first game, the final boss of that had 100,000, then 200,000, then 400,000 for the 3 phases, whilst this thing just has 2.5 million. So don't expect this fight to be over anytime soon. The only attack you need to be wary of, well, is Expunge in this phase, but in the next phase coming up, they'll have an attack called Destroy. Destroy is her strongest attack, and even with the half damage, even with glitch mode, it will do about 80% of your health. But this first form is weak to star attacks and has reduced physical defense, so push on it if you can. Partway through the fight, it will set up a counter stance for physical attacks, but if you have the Tally Fresh skill with Rotti, you can remove that even if you're removing your buffs at the time. What you're going to see me do, because it's the biggest way to rip out damage on this thing, is try and push it into a corner so it's constantly wall bouncing. And to jump the gun, when we go to the next phase, because there is another phase after this fight, when this fight ends, there will be a cutscene and then we'll be fighting another phase of this thing, because it wouldn't be... I say that like it's a whole series of it, but it's only the second game, but it wouldn't be a death end game if the final boss went down in one fight. We will have to fight this thing again. It will get back up after we defeat this first encounter. But unlike the first game, it doesn't play a new track. This rockin' final boss theme will just crack on. And I'm really glad that they don't like pull this card too early of this theme. Because one of the criticisms I made of the first game is that it's 2 of its 3 final boss themes. Well, firstly, the middle theme is just an event theme that's been made a fight theme, so you've heard it before. But the first theme you hear is the theme you hear in the opening of the game, and the third theme you hear during Rapuka's final moments. So all 3 themes of the final boss theme you'd already heard beforehand, so it lost a little bit of its uniqueness. Whilst this track, this is the only time you hear it, and rightly so, it's the final boss theme for goodness sake. But you see, this thing is bulky as shit, so my priority eventually just becomes wall bouncing because of the damage you can rip out on it through it. Whilst keeping Liliana on medic duty, which means for this first phase, your main damage dealer is going to be Mai, with the God of Death possessing her. And I wish that did something to her stats, like make her bulkier, but it's literally just a plot item thing. It doesn't do anything to her stats. But as I've been saying for a long time in this Let's Play, Mai should always be your biggest damage dealer anyway, because of Rovin Ball. The fact that you can get a boost on literally every single one of her attacks is something you should always be trying to push to make the most out of.
I'll kill you.
And to be honest, I think having Mai in her glitch form makes more sense here. Like, I can imagine, like, her glitch form stats, at least my headcanon is that her glitch form stats are the God of Death stats. You know, it doesn't make sense for the other 2, but for the sake of she sounds less human and more feral, because all of them do, they always sound more feral when in their glitch form. I feel like this form makes the most sense. And as you can see here, I'm going to be making a constant push to try and maintain the glitch form, so every now and then I'm going to have the characters run away to clean it up. And it's only very late on that I try and push for the glitch attacks to see if I can get the finisher early, which just barely works out, even if it's a little dangerous. But that's not yet though, this thing's got way too much life to be risking that now. The last thing you want is to be caught with your caught without your glitch form, because this thing will just wipe you. God, even Liliana's starting to rip up pretty good damage. Not as good as what we'll be getting out of Mai in a bit, but still good. You see, now Mai's at 80%, so I know his glitch form will end if I let another turn go by, so I'll run over here to clean it up. What I shouldn't have done there is that one of those spots I touched was a corruption spot, but I just didn't spot it. But I should have left it, so then I made that would have been a guaranteed extra glitch form turn for someone else. But because I picked it up now, I've just lost it. Look at that, borderline 20,000 damage per hit. And so the bounce off the wall is doing nearly over 50k in the end there. But now it says up the attack counter, and you're going to see the very next thing I do is with Rotti use Valley Fresh to get rid of it. Which is risky, because you get rid of every single buff you had, but it also gets rid of that physical counter. And so I try and rebuff her a little bit. And you're going to see for the other two, the first thing I do is turn back to those glitch spots to try and re-accumulate my losses. No, actually, I set up Philosite first. I keep going to say Philosite. I need to stop. It's Fizzlight or Fizzlight. Oh, I even try and lower its defense to try and make the most of the situation. I'm surprised I don't go for the glitch spots. You should. I know it goes against the whole thing, but at this stage in the fight, you should be far enough along that you should be fine. Getting your buffs back up is a bigger priority. But this thing is nearly dead, so I think next turn I push for the kill. Oh no, it really goes on the aggressive. And this will be a double build today. I will have the next part up as well today, because this originally was going to be one video. This was going to be the entire finale, but when I recorded it, it was 70 minutes, and as I've said before, PlayStation's recording limit is 60 minutes. So I just decided I'll split it in half, but upload both, so you're not wasting the weekend for the ending. This part is just the final boss fights. The next part is going to be just all the ending. Which, yes, then the ending is another half an hour long, but still. But at this point, it fucking decks Liliana and brings her down. Which is problematic, because I had every intention of using her glitch form then and there, and it got pulled down. So I use Resurrect and start prioritizing healing, not noticing, in my worry to try and get Liliana back, that Mai's glitch form's at 80%, so she loses her glitch form too in this. And so you see it starts to crumble a little bit, so I'm like, uh-oh. So I look at its health and I'm like, okay, 250k? Can I get the glitch form out to finish this now? You see, I debate it and eventually I say, you know what, I'm going to go push for it. So I swap over to Robert Smash just because of the extra sun damage boost, and hard commit to trying to get the kill. And in doing this, Roger says, I might not know everything, but if you make Mai or Liliana sad, I won't forgive you. That's the unique line for this. She's just like, you know what, fuck you. If you've done this to Mai and Liliana, like, Rotti doesn't care about herself in this situation. She just wants to deal with the threat. But my priority now, because the thing's still alive, is get Liliana in glitch form. And then I'm like, you know what? I know I've got another phase after this, so I'm just going to push for the kill now and worry about what's left afterwards. Because it's barely got anything left. I was hoping I'd get the kill, and it just didn't happen. So I get it this time. I think I get it actually before I even start the ultimate. Liliana keeps oddly quiet, so like right near the end of this. And what I also don't get is that the line delivery seems odd, because she just says, I won't ever, and it's like, you know she's supposed to finish saying forgive you or something like that. But she doesn't. She just says, I'll never, ever, and then it ends. You're like, huh? And look how much experience we got that time! Over 1 million experience points!
What's going on? No matter what we throw at her, she keeps getting up.
Not right.
Yes, it's not over yet. We're going to have a more demonic and insane version of Giulietta. At this point, Giulietta's become a shadow matter. Hence the really grim aura around her. She's lost her mind. Even a demon cultist can lose their mind beyond the point of no return, I suppose. She's become devolved. She's been eaten by her own curse. Her own curse has taken her over. She is psychotic. And for some reason, it changes her weaknesses and resistances. She, instead of it being weak to star and physical, having a weaker physical defense, she's now weak to moon and is more magic. And in the same vein, about halfway through this fight, she will put up a magic counter that you'll either need to deal with or get around. I decide to go to get around it instead by having Rotti sacrifice all our buffs again. And I push for an early glitch form there just to try and get rid of the minions because they're all back too, because of course they are. And you're going to see I don't check straight away because I forgot that its weaknesses and resistances change. So I think I push for Asta League and I'm like, it's not weak to that anymore. And you're going to see it's the amount of damage it takes is not going to be 10k anymore, it's going to be like 3,000. And you're also going to oh, so I get 8,000, never mind, I'll take it back. It's still good. I remember it being worse than that when I recorded this. And the knockback just whacks that thing. I told you, those things are weak. They're really annoying and they can hurt you quite bad, but they're not strong. You see, it's Rogue Giulietta now, and it's and a magic defense is a lot lower, but it's another 2.5 million health. So you're dealing with 5 million health points to take this bitch down. And that's the only way to describe her. If the hell she's done, she's earned that name. I don't like using that word so freely. If you're used to this channel, there's a lot. I know I swear often, and I've tried to tone it back over the years and not swear as much, but I still swear often. But she has earned that title easily. Everything she's done, everyone she's had killed to get this plan to work out, several times at that. There's Delete, her strongest attack, and he's like, even with the double boost, it just put Rotti down. So you need to be aware of that because she will rip that out quite often. You need to keep everyone buffed and have the half damage, and preferably in their glitch form, to try your hardest to make sure that you will survive that attack. There are also gold glitch spots around, so you can make the party temporarily invincible, but use it sparingly because there's not much and it's a long fight. But just think about what Giulietta did, right? The 22 deaths caused into a time loop, like a Groundhog Day, but into a year, for 30 years straight. Rotti experienced her mother killing herself and murdering all of her closest friends 30 times in a row, whether she cared to see it or not. And yes, her mind would get wiped for the year to repeat anyway, but trauma has a way of bleeding through anyway, and you could actually see glimmers of that through the adventure, that the trauma was bleeding through even if she couldn't remember it. She would have these very self-doubtful moments and is always extremely clingy and struggles to trust her mother even though she loves her. Like, now you know why, even before all the doubts of how she was came in, that it was bleeding into her. And so Rotti being the way she is makes her so much more sense. She wants someone that she can trust and love, so of course she became clingy to Mai so early on. And I'm glad that it ends up developing into such a genuine love for one another, that you can see bleed through this entire end piece, that they do love each other and will be there for each other through thick and thin. You're going to see me push to attack this thing physically more often than not when I'm using Mai, just because of Mai's raw damage. Like, watch Mai just rip out all this high damage despite this thing having insanely high physical defense. Mai's just that powerful, so I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to keep it physical because Mai can kick ass. Like, this thing's going down a lot quicker in this fight, and you'll probably find it for you as well. Other than being weary of Delete, because look, even then, like, Liliana's nearly dead again. Look at her, she's like, oh gosh! I love her stance, and she's like leaning over herself like, ugh!
Here we go.
But I do prefer this final boss over the first game's final boss. The first game's final boss, ignoring the fact that you could just win it without challenge because of the genre shift platformer, you could just make the fight over then and there. The final boss was also chained to the ground, and so couldn't move around and be much more of a threat. Whilst in this, yeah, we've pinned it down in a corner, but it doesn't mean that that's a guarantee. I also finally pushed to use Mai's glitch form, so you get to hear her final lines. her final unique lines.
I won't forgive you.
Which was, Julieta, I won't forgive you.
I'll degrade you.
I'm not sure what she says there though. It sounds like she'll say, "I'll debrain you," and I'm like, I don't think that's what she says, but it sounds an awful lot like that's what she says. It pushes for delete again. If it had hit Mai with that, actually she would have been fine because she was invincible. If she hit Mai with that without the invincibility, that would have definitely killed her at this point. So now it's kind of trying to firstly get rid of it, but now, as I said, the danger is we get rid of all our buffs in the process of getting rid of that. So you see me top up the health and magic while I'm at it, just before I commit to it, because I'm like, this is going to be problematic, because Liliana is already on the cusp of death, and now she's just lost all of her buffs. And that also means Mai's just lost her invincibility too. That's how much of a trade-off Valley Fresh can give. You sacrifice every single status condition you had, whether it was good or bad, just to get rid of the enemies too. You see me, I push, I was like, I'm going to do defense for everyone, and then a top up on healing for Liliana to try and ensure her survival in this.
I'll support you. I'll heal you.
I'm going.
And I was like, get that Philistite back on, or Firesight. I need to stop saying Philistite, damn it! But when in the next video, I won't be talking until the credits, but like the first game, I will be going out of my way to explain the ending, because it might not all make sense on your first run. Also, that miss, I couldn't have been happier that the delete missed, so I don't have to heal this turn. But unlike the first game, I do think this game's ending is a lot easier to understand than the first one. There's a lot more clear-cutness on what it's trying to explain to you and what it's trying to tell you, compared to the first game, which leaves a lot of it up to interpretation, and it's only through theories that I could kind of give you what I thought happened. And thankfully, about 99% of it was proven correct when the sequel came around. But still, there'll still be a few things that I want to clarify and explain so you know where we stand, so when Death End 3 eventually maybe comes along, you know where the plot's at right now. Because I'm pretty confident there's going to be a third game eventually to wrap this entire story up. At least I hope so. I hope it's not another Bravely situation where they set up a third title and then just don't go for it and do something completely different later on. Like after Bravely Second, instead of getting Bravely Third or Bravely Sword, we're getting Bravely Default 2. And it's like based on a whole different cast of characters. And But anyway, this attack is what finishes it. And we managed to finally destroy Julieta and her plan to resurrect Marbas with her 666 sacrifices. So that being said, next time on Death End Request 2, we're going to see the ending, and we're going to see what everything we fought for was worth. But until then, you take care now.